Thus, the inevitable conclusion from the quotes in the polls, McCain has decided he is not going to talk about the issue of the campaign. Let's turn now to the Washington editor of The Nation magazine, Chris Hayes. Good evening, Chris.
Hey, Keith.
It was considered very big deal last Friday when it became clear McCain essentially had dropped out of the battleground state of Michigan. What does it say when McCain essentially drops out of the battleground issue of the election?
Well, one hesitates to use the phrase waving the white flag of surrender. but you know, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, it's hard for me to tell whether all these sort of quotes that are coming from unnamed aides are people talking out of school or some nefarious kind of James Bond villain plan to sort of telegraph everything they're going to do before they do it. But, you know, I don't think that it makes a whole lot of sense to, divert attention away from the things that people really care about, and they care about in a way that they haven't cared about a single issue in a long time, actually, and B, to then tell everyone you're going to try to distract them. That seems like a bizarre political tactic.
Yeah, and by the way, one thing about waving the white flag of surrender, if you're going to do it, you've got to do the whole thing correctly, which is waving the white flag of surrender. What is there to Richard Wolff's point about the idea that the strategy is being telegraphed?
Yeah.
Does the left hand not know what the right hand is doing in the McCain campaign? Has it really gone off the tracks in terms of just procedure and organization?
Yeah, it does seem like it's gone off the tracks. I mean, there is a tried and true method of negative campaigning in which you do telegraph the attacks, and the reason you do that is you hope to have a kind of multiplier effect with the media, the mainstream media picking up on these negative attacks and kind of sending them out into all corners that wouldn't necessarily get it from the paid advertising you're doing. But again, at this point, it's happening so late, it's happening in such a transparently desperate way that it's hard for it to carry the kind of weight or strength that it would have under other conditions.
About Obama and his campaign, that documentary I mentioned on the Keating Five, some of the answers to the sleaze factor here. Does it dilute Obama's best window of the campaign? I mean, he can hit McCain on the economy endlessly, and McCain is not essentially has given up, ceded the territory. Why change the topic even for a moment?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not completely sold that it's a smart tactical move. Although I do think, from their perspective, what they're thinking, it's a little like, you know, releasing flak into the air to try to divert a heat-seeking missile. I mean, they're essentially trying to sort of create a neutralizing effect in the news cycle vis-a-vis the attacks that they know are coming from the McCain camp. They say, oh, you want to talk about that? Let's talk about this, and hopefully there's a sort of offsetting penalties, to mix metaphors, effect at the end of this, and the candidate himself can continue to talk about the economy. The other thing is that the Keating Five, as you mentioned earlier, really relates directly to exactly the kind of crisis we're in, which was a housing bubble and a financial implosion, largely because of deregulation.
And corrupt politicians. Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Great, thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Keith.